This Daytona / Milwaukee NASCAR 2024 weekend betting recap edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITH.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Because no one likes working on Mondays, it's the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network on a recap Sunday. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, and we have racing to recap, Cody. And I trailed off because it's been a great weekend of racing in some ways, but then in other ways, it was sort of like normally on a Sunday, like we're here recapping, and the Cup race just happened. So we're all excited because the Cup race trucks were on Sunday. And granted, it was a good race, but
it was a good race from the betting aspect, Rod. You got to focus on the positives, all right?
It was a great race for the betting aspect of it, which is why we're here to break it all down. So, Cody, I tell you what, I got what I needed from this weekend of racing. I really did. There was a lot of great stuff that happened, a lot of great stuff from a fan's perspective. We always say the bets are always going to be what the bets are, especially at Daytona, but I feel like as a fan, I was satisfied this weekend with the racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had a great weekend of racing. We actually got a Cup Series superspeedway finish that crossed the line. Exciting. There was a ton of action in both of those races at Daytona. Today's truck race, it was a little less action-packed, but hey, some of the long shot bets cashed. You always like to see that. A lot of fun. So plenty of storylines. Harrison Burton obviously gets a win, which is big. We'll talk about that, of course. And what a weekend for the long shots. Andrew checking in. I know he had, what did he get? Was it 60-1 today on Riggs to win?
Oh, on Riggs, yeah.
That race. So, yeah, very exciting for him. But here comes Harrison Burton. Oh, that was, man, that call was an all-timer. It really was. And for Jeff to be in the booth and get it done. Harrison Burton. I see our guy Chris checking in, by the way. Harrison Burton, more wins at Daytona than Kyle Larson. Cody Ware, more top fives at Daytona than Kyle Larson. Some of Chris's favorite stats from the weekend for sure. Harrison Burton, Rod, first Cup win faster than guys like Chase Elliott. Many others on the list there. So pretty interesting there. Wood Brothers gets their 100th win, kind of a big deal. They've obviously had a lot of legendary drivers over the course of their long-standing time in NASCAR. But yeah, exciting weekend.
Well, let's not anoint them yet. I mean, holy cow! We still got time to do this. But look, I was excited. That was a great finish, and honestly, with his son winning and Jeff in the booth, that was like, I don't know if I've ever seen, because I know we've seen fathers and sons do it before, but I don't know that we've ever seen one in the booth while his son was winning.
Yeah, well, we had. It was Ned Jarrett was in the booth when Dale won, I think, a 500. Obviously, Darrell in the booth when Michael won the 500 in 01. There's been a couple, those that come to mind right off the top of my head. I feel like there's been another one at some point, but yeah, not something you see very often, of course. And so, yeah, really great to have that aspect and see that. Couple of second generation or third generation guys this weekend. Harrison, of course, his father Jeff, Lane Riggs in the Truck Series with his father Scott, being a former driver as well. So pretty exciting for some of the legacy drivers.
Good job for the young pups moving their way up the ranks. So, yeah, we'll definitely talk about all the rest of that. But first, let's tell you that everything in the merch store is 10% off with promo code football. I'd recommend picking up some of the threads that we wear with Racing Gambling Podcast, be it a hoodie. It's going to get cold eventually. You're going to need a hoodie at some point coming in the winter. So make sure that it's a Racing Gambling Podcast hoodie or a shirt or a bag or a coffee mug, whatever it is. Support the show. Look cool while you're doing it. Grab one of those Racing Podcast merchandise items and save 10% with promo code football. Plus, college football kicks off this week. Tune in to Sports Gambling Podcast and College Football Experience for week 0 picks and, of course, all of your favorite futures. All right.
Before we get into the racing, there was a couple of news items if you want to hit on those real quick, Rod.
Yeah, sure, hit it.
Some fairly decently sizable news. First of all, Kaulig decides that Fox cameraman Daniel Dye is going to be their Xfinity driver next season. One of their Xfinity drivers, that is. It'll be him joining the Xfinity Series lineup along with Josh Williams is going to return with the team. So, yeah, that's some news there in the Xfinity Series side of things. Then on Friday, Trackhouse released Zane Smith. They had a multi-year deal with him. And, kind of looking back at this seems like it was I'm trying to remember the timing for when they signed Zane. It might have been earlier on before they realized what SVG was going to be. But I think they legitimately had plans for Zane to be their third driver. And then the SVG thing kind of blew up and came along, and it was like, sorry, we don't have room for you anymore. So they have released him starting next season. Of course, he's driving for Spire this year as a Trackhouse guy. He's been improving here as of late. I think that we'll see him go to front row and take over their third Cup Series car, but he is now out of a ride. And that led to the announcement on Saturday that Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG, is going to drive the number 88 car in the Cup Series next year. The number choice, pretty interesting. Of course, 97 has been his number in supercars. They added that in Xfinity, even though they hadn't driven it before. Not currently used in the Cup Series. So you thought that would be the right transition, right? Or 91, which is the car he won in, of course, at Chicago, and they've used for their Project 91. But 88 is the Cup number. Dale Jr. seems to be super pumped about it. So that's awesome to see. Of course, 88's had a long run of great drivers in the past, guys like Darrell Waltrip and many others. Dale Jarrett, of course, Ricky Rudd, all those guys have driven in the 88 car. So tons and tons of guys have been in that 88 car, but SVG will be the next guy. Of course, obviously, you would think this means Trackhouse feels pretty good about getting a charter for that car, but they are going to run a third full-time car with SVG next year based on his age, based on his progression, both on obviously road courses have been impeccable almost on the in the Xfinity Series, but then you add in how well he's improved on the ovals as well. I think that he's in for a solid season in the Cup Series next year.
I'm excited because, I mean, as we've said before, he's been learning. Like, he has been literally soaking it all in and taking some folks to school. Now, we'll talk about it in a little bit. We didn't necessarily see it as much as we hoped for on this particular weekend, but I guarantee you that with a full season under his belt, we're going to see a lot more of what we should be seeing this season from him. It's not going to take him very long to pick it all up. And like I said, I'm excited for the future, and I'm excited that they gave him a chance. Like, this is going to be a good team now. It already was, but I mean, this is like a good addition to what's already been a good team. So
yeah, and they did it the right way too. Like, remember last year, people were like, "Oh, just put him straight into Cup Series full time," and I was very like, "Don't do that." I was highly against it, and I think that they made the right call. You give him this year in Xfinity, you can see the progression, and he's, again, we've talked about it so many times. He's a veteran race car driver, knows what he's doing, and he's put that into play this season. He's learned a lot. Now I think it is time you move him up into the Cup Series, and I know Daniel Suarez made the playoffs this year in the Cup Series, but I wouldn't be surprised to see SVG outperform Suarez next year in the same equipment.
He very well could. And of course, I mean, him winning a couple of road courses along the way would definitely put him in the playoffs. So
yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen. I think people are like, well, he's going to win 3 or 4 road courses. It's like,
I didn't say
let's maybe pump the brakes. Like, one might even be a stretch. He's going to be in contention. He'll definitely be a factor, but I definitely don't think it's a sure thing that he's suddenly going to win road courses just because he's got one street course win.
Well, okay, fine. Then he wins a street course and locks himself in the playoffs.
Which he also didn't win.
Cody. Semantics. No one cares. GM Punk says, today I watched F1 Liverpool versus Brentford. Is that a cornhole match? Marcel versus Rhyme, AEW All In. Ooh. Detroit Tigers versus Chicago White Sox, IndyCar, NASCAR trucks, and now Columbus versus LAFC. You guys started at halftime. Oh, well, then
we're the halftime entertainment. So
yeah, we are.
Shout out to us. But yeah, DM Punk living his best life over there. Hell yeah.
I mean, I watched the truck race and the Ottawa Red Blacks. That was my fun day of watching sports. And then, I watched F1 this morning. So yeah, I F1 and then trucks and Ottawa, and then read comic books for the rest of the afternoon because why not? I'm back into that.
Why not, Rod? Why not?
So one thing I can do that's not sports related, but yeah, okay. So we'll break all the betting down. I think we should probably start with trucks though, because I feel like the trucks.
Yeah, so that was the Sunday most recent race.
Yeah.
Fresh in our minds.
Like we normally do with what we normally do. Right. So but before that, allow me to I want to do something.
It's our nation's colors. Here to offer tonight's invocation, please welcome Advent Health Chaplain Matt Vendome.
Dear God, as we are gathered here this evening to celebrate these gentlemen, shake and bake like Ricky Bobby, help us to remember we also have a race that we must run. Help us to also shake and bake. Stress, some days depressed. Help us to remember we are blessed, we must shake and bake. Heartache, heartbreak, you have used it all for our breakthrough. Help us to shake and bake. And on the days where it's hard to get up out of bed, help us to remember those famous and faithful words. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing for your glory, by your grace. In Jesus' name I pray, and all of God's children said, amen.
Amen. Let's go.
Let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry, or play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball Mania. Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. You can also use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Not going to pat myself on the back, but I did pretty well this week on my underdog picks, especially in the truck series. So boogity, 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 and shake and bake for that as well. Sign up right now with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN.
What a beautiful prayer, Rod. That's the best one I can remember since my smoking hot wife guy at Talladega.
I love that one.
And thank God for my smoking hot wife. That was just, that's an all-timer for sure, but this guy's going down in the history books. Look, if you have the opportunity to do a prayer or something, or a driver start your engines thing at a race, like, yeah, we hear that every single week for all three races. Who cares? But you got to go in and this guy, he's going to be played for years and years to come. What a great prayer. Absolutely loved it.
I'm not religious at all anymore, but that made me want to go to church. I go to that guy's church. If that guy, I don't know where he's at, I'll sit in that pew and I will.
The Church of Boogity 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 is the church that I would go to if I were to go to church. Right?
I would feel the spirit in that one. All right. Speaking of feel the spirit, we had a truck race today in Milwaukee on the Milwaukee Mile. It ended with a pretty good long shot, 60-1 long shot. However, Cody, we were not surprised that Lane Riggs was going to have a good day. In fact, we predicted he would have a good day. We just didn't think it would be that good of a day. So congrats to Lane Riggs for picking up his first career win.
Yeah. Shout out to Lane Riggs. Look, we've been talking about him for a while. I was a little more hyped on him coming into the season. It was pretty rough. He's done well over the last few weeks, which has been great. It's all been short, flat tracks, which is his wheelhouse. So he's got some work to do on the bigger tracks still. And I think we're going to use that to our advantage in a couple of weeks, probably, because the heat's still going to be on him. And I don't know that I believe in him when we get to a place like Kansas. But yeah, congrats to him. Super awesome. Sucks that it's just past when the playoffs started. Of course, this was the first playoff race. It doesn't get him in. But hey, getting your first career win, it's a big deal. His father, I believe, a 5-time winner in the Truck Series. So pretty awesome to see. He celebrated so hard he dislocated his shoulder, which was impressive. And then for the crew guys to just pop it back in for him, that was great too, and keep the party rolling. So luckily they have a few weeks off. But yeah, you might as well kick it off with your bets because you stole it from me. So I guess you'll get the credit this time, but that's okay.
I do that, but I filled this box, and I don't normally fill this box, so I felt pretty strongly about Lane Riggs.
You did. Great call.
I took Lane Riggs over Tyler Ankrum, and I said it too. I said, I don't think that Ankram's not going to have a good day. I think he's going to have a top 10 day, probably even a top 5, but I think Lane Riggs has the potential to get, at least one position better than Tyler Ankrum. Well, it turns out he got quite a few positions better than Tyler Ankrum, but for most of the day, I mean, look, Lane Riggs obviously won the race, right? Tyler Ankrum finishes in 6th, and that's where it was for most of the day. I mean, Ankrum was somewhere between the 7 to 10 range at points. He fell out. I don't think he really ever fell out of the top 10, actually, to be honest with you. But I do know that he was rolling around in the back half of the top 10, whereas Lane Riggs, as we know, was jockeying for the lead, leading 53 of those laps. So, I mean, right out of the bat, the Riggs call over Ankrum was right, as was the Riggs top 5 at 3-1. I just wish that I would have truck lifted him all the way up to the win because I was feeling him.
Yeah, you were feeling him, and it was a great call. Another good reason to be in the Discord, too. He was at 6-1 for a top 5 this morning. Started a little farther back. We had some people asking, like, yes, take that. Obviously, that hit for them. And of course, if you got him 60-1, like our guy Andrew did, shout out to him. But, this was a great call by you. You were you nailed it. I mean, you said Ankrum was going to be pretty good, and he was. But Riggs was the guy that ended up on top at the end of the day. So shout out to you for hitting that. I tried to fade Nick Sanchez. Didn't go so well for me. Sammy Smith.
Tried to tell you. I tried to tell you.
You did, Rod. Sammy Smith finished in 17th place. So, that's probably the last time I backed Sammy Smith in the Truck Series for that reason. Sanchez, 4th place finish. Shout out to him. Man, the playoff guys, it was pretty crazy. Looking at the yellow bars on the graphic there, the guys who are in the playoffs, I think 8 of the top 10 were all playoff guys. So they really took care of business at the end of the day, Sanchez being one of those. Sammy Smith never had it. I mean, there was never any shot he was going to do it. So, that's Andrew checking in. You guys own the Truck Series. Books hate this show. You're not wrong. The Truck Series has been very, very kind to us, and we really love it. Erica coming in with some heat for you, Rod. That's right. The 55 proves so many are wrong. Again, back-to-back top 5s. What do you got to say about that, Rod? Yeah, what do you have to say about that, Rod?
Well, I'll tell you first and foremost, I don't know who Rob is, but he's got some answering to do. I'll tell you that right now. And I don't know what he'd say about it, but I'll tell you what I think about it when we get to the Cup Series, Erica. Don't you worry about that. You may have a little bit of backtracking for me, but we'll get into the 54 later on in the show. Let's talk about the 99 though. Ben Rhodes. I had him as a top 5 at 7-1. Ben Rhodes was a 9th place truck. And what's frustrating about it is that he started in 18th in this particular race, was in the top 12, barely cracked the top 10 at the end of the race. And this just didn't, this wasn't Ben Rhodes. This wasn't Superman. They must have thrown kryptonite in his truck bed because he definitely was running at 3/4 speed for a better part of this race. He was having trouble making passes. I don't know. From 18th to 9th was one thing, but it just didn't look like his truck was doing what he wanted it to do to get to the front. So, 4 spots off of a top 5, not bad for 7-1, but I still don't understand why it was a 7-1 in the first place when it's Ben Rhodes. Granted, now the books won on that instance because he ended up 9th, but I still don't, I'm scratching my head. Can't figure it out.
Yeah, this was a great bet. If your top 5 finishes 4 spots out of the top 5 at 7-1, it's a great call. And look, we said this on the show. We're going to give you a lot of top 5s. These guys are not all going to finish on the top 5, but if a few of them do, well, guess what happened, Ron? A few of them did, and it paid off for you if you did it correctly here. So, yeah, Rhodes didn't get it, but he was there in the mix. That's what you expect from him, especially going into the playoffs here at 7-1. Great call by you. Same thing with Matt Crafton, top 5 at 15-1 for me. 10th place, 1 spot behind him, twice the number. It's all the same exact argument and story of You take some of these long shots, you sprinkle them in because they're not all going to get up there, but one or two of them is. Two of them ended up there and made us positive for the day. So Matt Crafton, great run by him again. 10th place run, solid day. Of course, doesn't cash the top 5. Back to Andrew's comment, we're probably never going to get top 10s because I think the books know what would happen. But yeah, hey, again, a 15-1 to be within 5 spots. You're going to take that every time because, yeah, I get it. It didn't cash this week, but it's going to cash enough and you're on the right track. And if you're within 5 spots of being there, Rod, we get that late caution flag. How long does it take to pass 5 cars? 5 trucks case, not that long in a lot of instances. So, yeah, I think these were both great bets. Of course, they didn't hit, but on the right track, and you got good value for your money.
Well, speaking of which, I'm going to let you go to your next top 5 because that one actually did hit before I get to mine because mine.
Yeah. So I had Taylor Gray top 5, 6-1. Snuck it in there at the end. Boy, he started battling with Corey Heim there, and I was like, oh, come on, Taylor. Gets it done, though. He sneaks into the top 5. And really, like, he kind of earned it throughout the day. He started back in 11th place, but quickly worked his way up. He was 9th at the end of stage 1, which really was 7th because you had those couple of guys at the front that stayed out for whatever reason. That makes no sense to me. Why does Ty Dillon need a stage win in the playoffs when he's not in the playoffs? It makes no sense to me, but hey, whatever. That's a story for another day. Worked his way up to 5th by the end of stage 2. And then, of course, got back into 5th there at the end of the day. So 6-1. Rod, he just wasn't it the week before where he finished in 4th place. It made no sense. And sometimes the books just get so zeroed in on, Ty Majeski's got to be plus 100 to win this race because we don't want to get screwed. He's won 2 in a row. He's going to do it again. And it's like, well, we forget about these other guys down the road. And a lot of times we talk about it when the Cup Series guys come down, it depresses the value farther down the road and worked out for us. So a W for the Shifties. That's right. Tay Gray gets it done. 6-1 for the top 5.
Yep. And again, that was one at the end that you were watching the ticker because they were showing the front of the pack. They were showing Riggs, and you're like, no, go back a little farther. I want to see
go back to this battle. I want to see if he's cleared Heim yet.
Yeah, go back to. Well, they actually did show that a little bit.
They did, yeah. But then even when he gets around, you're still like, okay, can we check back in on that and make sure that they're not like coming back for him? Because
we want like the sky view in F1.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch whatever driver we want.
Which battle I'd like to watch here.
Me too. I did not want to watch Grant Enfinger's battles all day long. That was more frustrating than anything.
What happened?
Nothing. Like they had an anchor at the back of his. They had an anchor at the back of his truck bed. That's what it was. Grant Enfinger finishes 13th after starting 12th, and really, that's where he was all race long.
I think it was Andrew who was saying in the Discord. He's like, I don't think he's moved out of 11. And then he got into 10th place, and I'm like, oh my God, he gained a spot. Like he was literally just every time he looked at the board, it's like one of those things where you're like looking at the app and you're like, is this broken? Like he hasn't moved. He's been in the same spot the whole race. Surely this isn't right. And you close it out, you go back in, and it's still in the same spot. It's like, God, what just, man. And that really just leads right into my next bet because I had him top 5. This just should have been a Grant Enfinger race, and it wasn't. And it's sad. We just missed on that one. That's going to happen. But short flats, he's still going to be a guy you're going to target. And I don't feel bad for making these bets. Obviously, it didn't work out today, but the numbers were still right for everything we knew about going into this track, how he'd been last season, how he'd performed this season, how hot he'd been lately. Sucks to kind of lay an egg at the first race of the playoffs, but that's how it goes.
I mean, we probably should have seen this coming after qualifying because he didn't look that fast, obviously, in qualifying, and that was it.
Yeah, Taylor Gray didn't look that fast in qualifying either. Lane Riggs started 11th or 12th, and he was the best truck by the end of the day. Actually. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the tough thing because so many times it's like, oh, they didn't qualify well, and it's like, yeah, that's not always indicative. Like in Enfinger's case, it was, but in Gray and Riggs' case, it wasn't. So, yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. You know what's not tough? Watching Daniel Dye win a group for you at 2 plus 260. Daniel Dye beat Chase Purdy. He beat Jake Garcia. And holy cow, how was this the sweat? This should not have been the sweat. Tanner Gray should not have been the one I was sweating over Daniel Dye. But Tanner Gray, hey, look, shout out to him. He finished 11th, started outside pole. Like, I was like, are you kidding? The 1 week Tanner finds the gear shift. And this is the one where I've got him in I guess a head-to-head, really, with Daniel Dye at plus 260. thank God he held on to that one because, for Daniel Dye, right? He started 10th and just was solid. I mean, he was there inside the top 10. He was battling for top fives a couple of times over, and just was there. He was a solid top 10 truck all day long, like we said he was going to be. I didn't expect for Tanner to be that much of a fight, but you got to go all the way down. Jake Garcia ended up 21st, and then Chase Purdy ended up 23rd. So if it weren't for Tanner Gray, this would not have been a sweat. 110%.
Yeah, this was a great call by you. And man, Daniel Dye, like this was one of the rare announcements by colleague to put him into their Xfinity car where you're like, this actually makes sense. Like Dye has really like up and kind of earned this ride. He's improved so much over the last couple of seasons. He's had a great year. He's in the playoffs. He's running well every week. And so, yeah, this was a great call by you. Again, this was the only playoff guy in this group. It just didn't seem to quite line up. As we saw, it was mostly playoff guys up near the front of things. And yeah, outside of Tanner Gray, I mean, not even close on these other guys. So really you had a plus 260 head-to-head matchup on the guy who's in the playoffs against the guy who isn't. So really worked out very nicely for you. Didn't work out nicely for me. Just threw a dart out there. Dean Thompson, top 5 at 20-1. Look, he's 20-1. I mean, that's how it goes. I really don't know what else to say. 19th place finish. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to continue to kind of look at and target just because we've seen the upside. I made the case for it. And I told you it can be a roller coaster ride with the guy. He is very unpredictable, but he's got the upside. Wasn't his week this time. But we get to Kansas in a couple of weeks. Probably going to be a guy that I'm going to look at again because he has the ability to get it done. And just going to keep kind of throwing darts out there. It's 20-1. They're not always going to hit, but if it hits once every 20 times you bet it, you're not doing too bad though.
A dart I wish I would have thrown was the 30+ number out there for the winning truck. We even talked about it too, where we were like, if you're going to
it wasn't 30+ was the favorite, wasn't it? Because of Majeski.
Oh yeah, because of Majeski. Yeah, it was like minus something or other. Yeah, so I threw out the 10-19 at plus 130. I mean, this was banking on Eckes.
Yeah, and Eckes looked good. I mean, we'll talk about Heim in a second, but Eckes looked really good. So
71 laps led for Christian Eckes.
Yeah, he was up front and he was fast, and I was fucking kicking myself. I'm like, God, I picked Heim over Eckes. Why did I do that? It wouldn't have mattered in the end of the day, anyways. But yeah, I still don't think like getting those two guys anywhere at plus 130 is not a bad thing by any means. And Taylor Gray was up there in the top 5 as well. Tyler Ankrum was in the top 6. I mean, really, if you go to the top 7, you've got four guys in the top 7 in this number group. So not really sitting in a bad spot there by any means. Outrights for me, I'd given out Toyota, same price as Corey Heim. Heim ends up not even being the top Toyota, so I guess it would have been the better way to bet it. Heim never had a shot though in this one. It just, didn't look fast from the get-go. Had the speeding penalty through 2 sections on pit road there, and it was just like, he fought his way back up through the field, but then he really fell off at the end. Gray kind of passed him there at the end. Ankrum passed him at the end. So I'm not sounding the alarm. I think short, flat tracks, they've obviously just got some sort of something's not going well. That doesn't bode well for the championship race at Phoenix. So we better get that figured out. Bristol, he wasn't great at, I don't think, in the spring. We'll have to go back and look at that, of course, in a couple of weeks when we go there. But when we get to somewhere like Kansas, like he's been the guy on 1.5 miles. So we're still going to talk about him there. Enfinger at plus 725. I would place this bet again with no questions asked. It wasn't his day. They all have bad days. That's fine. Plus 725 on a short track for Grant Enfinger is pretty much something you need to bet every time. And Ben Rhodes 50-1. He was never going to win this, but he was 9th place. You're probably going to need a little bit of help. But, if you told me going into the race, Lane Riggs is going to be the one that, a 60-1 is going to be the one that wins this, I would take that bet on Ben Rhodes plenty, So that's how it goes. And his teammate was fast, obviously, in time of Majeski. So missed the outright this week, but luckily those couple of top 5s earlier on saved us.
Well, and then I threw out Matt Crafton at 100-1 because that number was way too big for a guy that ends up finishing 9th. I mean, look, Ben Rhodes, or not Ben Rhodes, but Ben Rhodes too. But Matt Crafton, 88, 98, or 99, 200. I don't know. It's all these truck numbers get me confused. No, but for Matt Crafton, look, if he would have started maybe a couple more spots up, he might have had something for the rest of that field. He started in 14th. He had to fight his way through. A couple of pit stops got him up more toward the front. I just feel like, a little more. And I think Matt Crafton, if he would have started inside the top 10, we might have been talking about him at 100-1 winning this race, because remember what I said, he's too good at this track to be 100-1. And if, he's going to be somewhere in contention for top 10, if not a win. Well, he was, and he did. So I just wish he would have been closer and been able to try to fight for a win.
Yeah, but hey, at the price, I don't think it was bad at all.
I don't think so either. Speaking of not bad at all, let's talk Xfinity, but let's first talk about Rhythm. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Do you even know what a sports betting model is? Of course you guys do. You're smart. You guys are total degens, and you know exactly what that is. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press build a model for me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Simplify your betting process. College football kicks off this Saturday. It already kicked off, so it's underway now. Been using Rhythm for golf and WNBA all summer. Just built models that you actually follow and bet in on some of the random games on opening weekend and beyond. Never been more excited to watch Delaware State football in my life, thanks to Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Buying tickets for any event blows. Let's put it that way. It's just not the most pleasant thing in the world. You start clicking buttons, and then they got fees for you to click buttons. And then when you go to check out, they throw more fees on it because they need to make money, right? They need to put their kids through Harvard while you're barely going to community college. No, I went to community college, so that's why I can say that. But don't do that to yourself. Take all of the guesswork out of life with Game Time. Go to Game Time to buy all of your tickets. Use promo code SGPN because you are going to get a ton of perks with that. You're going to get last-minute ticket deals. You're going to get flash deals. You're going to get all this stuff. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code SGPN for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account. Redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. All right. Now that I've ostracized everybody in my demographic, let's get on to the Xfinity race, shall we? No, listen, I enjoyed my time. I loved everything about it because it gave me the opportunity to venture on to a 4-year. So love all of you. And I taught there too. I taught at once.
Wow. Rod the teacher. Rod, you are a good teacher, Rod. So it's,
Thank you very much.
That's the only reason I'm here. So
my students,
shout out to you for that.
I'm actually on Rate My Professor, and I love that one of the comments is like, doesn't give out any homework and is the like something along those lines, like gives out no homework and always get an A. I was like,
wait, is that a good thing?
I was like, I'm not sure that you completely took my class then, if that's the case. I do remember giving out homework every once in a while.
Well, that person didn't do it and still got an A. So there you go.
Well, then I must have slipped through the cracks. I need to find you, buddy. Let's go back over that grade book. All right. Speaking of grade book, what grade would you give the Xfinity Series race from this weekend, Cody?
I'd give the ending an F. I absolutely hate when super speedways end on the caution flag. I think, Rod, we need to change the rules specifically for super speedways that they have to cross the line to finish the race. It is so anticlimactic for somebody to be spinning out and bring out the caution flag while they're on the backstretch, and we don't get to see what are look at the finish we had in the Cup Series. Look at the finish at Atlanta earlier this season in the Cup race there. Like how exciting these finishes can be, and we've had multiple times, especially in the Cup Series lately. Like that's why I mentioned, oh, thank God we got a good finish at the line, because we just don't seem to get the finishes a lot, and it just takes so much wind out of the sails because it's like you've got Parker Kligerman and Ryan Sieg and Jordan Anderson all right there in the mix, and they don't really get a chance to make their move because AJ Allmendinger doesn't, comes down when he's not clear and ships himself into the infield, and that's how things end, which is unfortunate. But great to see Ryan Truex win. Really enjoy seeing him win. I think that, he's a very good driver. we consistently see him win. I mean, he's won a couple of, this is his third Xfinity Series win, just running part-time in these cars. Sometimes makes you question, why he doesn't have more of a full-time ride. And that's kind of maybe a conversation for another day. But overall, exciting race, fun, chaotic, right? You get those guys that I just mentioned all finishing in the top 6. That means you had a pretty good, fun race, right? Kyle Weatherman, Leland Honeyman rounding out the top 10. That's always fun to see as well. So, good race overall. Can we do something to change the finishes so we end under green at the line? I know that's asking a lot, probably. But yeah. And yeah, Andrew, the last 2 Daytona 500s in person were ruined by that. Like, it's so anticlimactic. The green, white, yellows are fine. I think that part of it's fine. It's just, let's not end on a yellow on the backstretch on super speedways. Like, I don't so much care on other places, but on super speedway specifically, when there's so many moves to be made, give us a chance.
Well, I mean, we had a gigantically long red flag too at the end of that before we got it started again. That was,
yes.
I mean, you want to talk about gigantic wrecks. There were some gigantic wrecks this weekend. There were ones.
This weekend was and like, again, just the safety of these cars. Like, man, we have come so far, and obviously they, things need to continue. And man, they added that fin this weekend, probably stopped McDowell from flipping. So I think we saw almost immediate payoff on that. Obviously, Barry still ends up upside down, and scary hit there, upside down, hitting the wall like that, and then just spinning like a top. Oh my goodness, how you're not thrown up inside the helmet, I don't know at that point. But just, man, the safety of this stuff, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, a lot of our bets. So let's just talk through them, because a lot of our bets had to deal with a lot of the guys and that were actually in this race, in definitely some of those big wrecks. And yours was one of the ones that helped bring out the red flag.
Yeah, fast pasta ended up like cooked pasta at the end there. Anthony Alfredo, 6-1 for a top 5. Look, we saw him up there mixing it up. I mean, he was up there throughout the day. He was 7th in stage 1. Not in the top 10 in stage 2, but he got into a wreck early, and you're like, yep, that's done. That's cooked, right? And then, oh shit, he was right back in the mix. They were talking about him throughout the day. That camo car, you couldn't even see it out there. It was so camo. But this definitely, I mean, this had legs throughout the day. A bet that I would absolutely place again. By the way, take notes for everything that happened in the Xfinity and Cup Series, because Atlanta's in 2 weeks. So, and I believe Xfinity is going to Atlanta as well. Yes, they are. So, Atlanta in 2 weeks for both of these series, and not the trucks, just a Cup and Xfinity. But Fast Pasta gonna be a guy we're probably gonna be on again, because he was mixing it up there up front all day, had his opportunities. Obviously, ends up destroyed as part of I believe that was that last wreck that brought up the red flag there.
Yep, that last one collected him. It also took out Cesar Baccarella, Jeremy Clements, Jeffrey Earnhardt, Josh Bilicki, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Patrick Emmerling. All of those guys were out on that crash. But yeah, earlier, Alfredo hits the wall in turn 4 after contact with Jesse Love on lap 60. He had an adventurous day, and yet he was still in the mix, like you said, for a top 5 at some point, especially at the end. So good call for you at 6-1. Man, just what would have happened if he would have not done that? All right. I took Sam Mayer over Sammy Smith, not Sammy's weekend, by the way. The number 1 car over the 18 car. This one hit at -115. Sam Mayer finishes 13th. Sammy Smith finishes in 23rd. Honestly, this was not even an exciting one to pay attention to. So, I mean, granted, we cashed this one, but this was no fun. Neither one of these guys. I mean, Sam Mayer got caught up in an early wreck.
You thought maybe he was going to be done early because he was in like one of those remember just to go back to the very start of this race, we didn't even get a full lap in before there was utter chaos. By the way, this is why you don't bet guys at +250 to win races in the super speedways, because Austin Dillon didn't make it 3/4 of a lap, and he was Austin Hill didn't make it 3/4 of a lap, and he was completely toast from getting caught up in shit. And that is what happens on super speedways. That's part of it. But you thought you lost Mayer at that point. He obviously recovered and did cash this one for you.
Yeah. I mean, it was Earnhardt bumping Jeremy Clements, then get loose, and then Austin Hill, Gustine, Ryan Ellis, and then Ikiori, and all of that. It's just that whole wreck was crazy right from the get-go. And poor Austin Hill, here he is like thinking, okay, well, I'll be all right back here for a little bit. No, sir. You're going to get collected early.
Yep. Yeah. And you mentioned Earnhardt being mixed up in that. He got enough damage in there that he was never a factor throughout the rest of the day. So really didn't get a chance to see what he could do. I had him top Toyota plus 550. Obviously, Truex wins. Chandler Smith in second place in a Toyota. So probably would not have cashed anyways. But we didn't really get a chance to see what Earnhardt could have done, which unfortunate, but that's how it goes. Speaking of not really getting a chance to see what guys could do, Rod.
Jeb Burton finishes 17th.
Also involved in that wreck.
Yeah, does not cash the top 5. Although I will say on lap 32, Jeb Burton made contact with Brandon Jones, had a flat right front coming to the stage. And so, yeah, I mean, poor Jeb.
And what's crazy is, so he was involved in that first lap wreck. There was some damage, but he recovered. Well, then he gets the flat tire, but then he recovers again, and he was 5th in stage 2. So, like, he was in the mix, and he was going to have a shot at accomplishing something. We could have had a Burton sweep on the weekend. So this was a great bet. Burton continues to be a guy very, very good on super speedways. 2 weeks in a row, because we had him last week in Michigan. Some bad luck. He gets caught up in things. But, Rod, that's what happened. It doesn't matter how good you are at super speedways. See Denny Hamlin. See all of these guys that got caught up in wrecks this weekend. Austin Hills. While they are good, and that's why we bet on them, if you get the right number, you can get caught up in shit, and that's what happens. Speaking of getting caught up in shit, I had a couple of top Chevys and Brandon Jones at 14-1, SVG at 22-1. SVG went up in a plume of smoke. Oh, that was Sunday, right? Or Saturday in the
that was
what
Saturday.
Happened to him because he got caught up.
No, he got caught up in the last one. No, he got caught up in that.
Oh, the last one.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah,
the last one with Anthony Alfredo.
Yeah, so I don't remember how he was running before that. I don't know that it was the best ever, but yeah, he got caught up in that. So kind of how it goes. But if you look at it, like Parker Kligerman in 3rd, that's fairly predictable, right? He was a little more of a favorite. But then Jordan Anderson in 6th place was the next Chevy. So to the point of then Honeyman and Weatherman and Josh Williams rounding out the top 10 with Allgaier mixed in there. But Chevys get in trouble. Wow, yeah, but Austin Hill's so good. Okay, well, Austin Hill gets taken out very early, right? And then all these other guys get taken out and have issues. That opens up the door. It makes Top Chevy a good bet. Obviously, did not cash in this case. Brandon Jones is getting close to evening out his tab, Rod. He's made me a lot of money over the years, but I think the last about 8 times I've picked him, he hasn't. So I might start laying off Brandon Jones for a little bit. Probably not, because his number's always too sexy. But, yeah, didn't hit these, but again, it's the right thought. It's a super speedway. This is why we say you go into this expecting to lose it all. Whatever you hit, you be happy with, because that's just, as Denny Hamlin would say, right? That's just super speedway race.
And I figure it's always such a cliche, but it never is when it comes to the end of the race. You're always like, well, yep, that was super speedway racing, right? Because everything
was this the race, or was it Sunday where you kept coming? Rod just pops in the Discord and he's like, "Are we done watching yet?"
I feel like that was
Saturday's race, right? For the Cup Series.
Yeah, I was just like, are we done watching this yet?
Are we done watching this yet?
Yeah, it had to been Saturday, because I didn't get to watch Friday Night Live. Yeah, I was like, are we done watching this yet? Because I'm done. I can't anymore. Well, but Friday night's race was still just as bad, especially with this next one. Justin Allgaier wins stage 1, wins stage 2. Does not win the race, does not even finish inside of the top 3 to cash his bet. He finishes in 7th place. Cody, can you make it stop? Can you just make it stop? I don't know how he didn't get into, I mean, he was not in the right lane at the end of the race to be able to make a run into the top 3, but for the love of God, man, can you make it stop? I think it was a slow pit stop for him too. That kind of set him back after the end of stage 2. And put him out, or tire strategy.
Let him race to the line. He might have finished top 3, Rod. He was gonna have a run. He's gonna have a chance there. He's a good car. He knows what he's doing. Let him run back to the line.
Nope.
I made a case for Joey Gase, and Joey Gase ended up in 20th place, which really. Now, I mean, again, we don't get top 10, so you got to go with the top 5. But at 30-1. 20th place, he was still alive. I think he got caught up in one of the wrecks, which most people did. But yeah, obviously not if you look at, though, who finished up, like Jordan Anderson, which I really wish I would have had more bets on, although sixth place wouldn't have been able to cash anything on him. But Leland Honeyman's up here, Kyle Weatherman, like that's why you take these long shot bets. Gase doesn't cash, had him top Ford as well, which you see early in the race. Custer and Herbst collected each other on pit road. All of a sudden, it's like, oh boy, you know. Now Herbst recovers and finishes fourth, and Sieg was fifth, which we obviously had tossed out as well. But then 14th place for the next best Ford. So Gase not that far behind those guys. That's why you bet those. Also, Parker Retzlaff, top 5 at 7-1. He looks so sad in his glasses. What is it with the guys that wear glasses and looking so sad after they get wrecked out? But he was caught up, I believe, in that early wreck and finished all the way back in 34th place. So didn't cash on this one, but I think he'd only ever finished in the top 10 in his Xfinity Series starts at Daytona. So you like that. And look at Saturday, Rod. He ends up in, where did he end up in? Like 4th place or something like that. I mean, he was pushing Burton there at the end. So I think he fell back to like 7th. But still, he was right there in the mix at the end on Saturday in the Cup Series race. Could have been there Friday night. These days are fucking throwing me off. Could have been there Friday night in the Xfinity Series race as well.
Guys with glasses are just inherently sad. Just so you know. I know because I am one. If you've never watched the YouTube channel, I do wear glasses. So yeah, we are inherently sad. Parker Retzlaff, though, lap 78. He was in that with Jeb Burton, Jesse Love, Brandon Jones, Josh Williams, DiBenedetto, Cole Custer, Sammy Smith, Kyle Sieg, all that one of the really big ones around lap 78. That was like from 10th place on, too. That was the frustrating part about that one. That had some of the best cars on the track that day. Justin Allgaier may not have finished inside the top 3, but he did finish better than Jesse Love, Sheldon Creed, and Sam Mayer to win Group A at plus 260. Sheldon Creed, though, that was a little scary one because Sheldon Creed looked like oh my God. You want to talk about when can it stop? Make it stop. Sheldon Creed's telling the world, make it stop.
He's saving it up for Phoenix, Rob. I'm telling you.
He
He's
must
win
be.
at Phoenix and give it to everybody.
Yeah, well, Sheldon Creed on this day finished in, Jesse Love finished in 21st. Yeah, Sheldon Creed finished in 8th, which, I mean, he very well could have ended up somewhere.
Right there behind Allgaier. So you race back to the line, you might lose this one. So I guess balances out for your top 3.
Yep. And then Mayer, obviously, we talked about earlier, finishing down in 13th. So, yep.
Yeah, too bad you can't bet on Xfinity Series stage winners, or at least I haven't seen that yet, because Allgaier has 13 stage wins, as Nico points out, which, man, he's real good at the stage wins, right? I'll give him that. Speaking of guys that are good, Ryan Sieg, good on super speedways. Rode the car lift with them, top Ford, plus 270. One spot behind Riley Herbst doesn't hit. The top 5 does hit at 3-1. Top 3 in the win race don't, as he finishes in 5th place. But right there in the mix throughout the day again, just doing Ryan Sieg things. He's talking about guys that have made us money over the years consistently. Gotta love it with Ryan Sieg. Gonna continue to bet on him. Wish we could have tacked more off of this, but you hit the top 5 at least, and hit the first leg of the car lift at 3-1. Pretty good number there, so I'll take it.
Who knows what could have happened if they would have raced back to the line? I'm just saying.
Exactly. Give him a chance, Rod. Come on.
Winning car number odd, minus 135, did not hit. Don't care. And then my outright was SVG. I'm just going to toss that out there. 50-1, 500-1, 50-1, whatever it was. Didn't hit. I don't care for SVG.
Yeah, I had AJ Allmendinger 14-1. This obviously looked great. The majority of the race. I mean, he was right up front, right there. He's, of course, the caution that ends the race as he slides down to go pass for the lead. Not quite clear on Kligerman, gets sent in the grass. But a 14-1. Absolutely love having this ticket. Be looking towards him in Atlanta again in a couple weeks. Creed at 14-1. You talked about him, 8th place finish, but he was kind of up in the mix all day. I mean, he was right there with a chance, so you like it. Brandon Jones, we talked about earlier, 25-1. You didn't see it because he was involved in that early wreck, but Anthony Alfredo at 40-1. Absolutely loved holding on to that ticket throughout the day because Anthony Alfredo looked really good and he was really fast. And yeah, 40-1. He was going to be in the mix at the end had he not got caught up in that wreck.
Yes, indeed. Well, that was the Xfinity race. So congratulations to Ryan Truex, who, by the way, I think I had not given much love to in the underdog. That was the one that I missed on.
Oh, geez, Rod. How could he could never, ever win? He's horrible. You said just the worst things about Ryan Truex. Oh, wait, that's not it. People get, you listen to the whole show, people. Anybody can win these races at super speedways. We talked about that. but taking the under, the worst then, is the way to go. They don't always hit all the time. That's how it works. It's super speed. We literally tell you that like 14 times throughout the weekend of play this safe, take it easy. It is as predictable as some guys can be to be good. Everything about it's unpredictable, and that's what we see.
Speaking of which, unpredictableness is what the name of the game is in the Cup Series, and King is here. Top 5 into Daytona is a win in my book.
The Tyrone Gibbs fans are strong in the chat always. Yeah, great run for them. Obviously, so we'll talk more about the playoff picture Tuesday rather when we come back with the Cup Series picks. But one race left in that, and we've got a battle in our hands. Obviously, the cut line shrinks a little bit with Harrison Burton stealing a spot in the playoffs, Rod, from dead last he's still dead last in the playoffs, in the standings, which is hilarious, of the others, people who have run every race. And yeah, he's in the playoffs now. So shrinks that line, but a good day for Mr. Tyrone Gibbs.
Indeed. In fact, he didn't even lead a full lap. That's the thing about it. He led enough to get to the caution to lead to win the race, and that was all there was to it. So all right, as far as our bets are concerned,
as long as you lead the most important lap, that's what matters, Rob.
It's true, or at least get to the start-finish line in position to win the race. That's what you need. But yeah.
All right, Rod. Well, I kicked it off with a little bit of a fade on Martin Truex Jr. Might have been Ryan Truex's day on Saturday. Was not Martin's day on Sunday. I took him worse than or over 12.5 on Caesars at minus 115. This was easy. I mean, it was never. I think he was caught up in that very first wreck and kind of just limping around with damage. I mean, I don't remember how many laps down he ended up at the end of the day, but every time you'd see the field just go flying by him, and there he goes, his little orange car. Just Luckily, he did say this weekend his deal for the Daytona 500 is all but done. So there will be an announcement coming soon. So he will be running the Daytona 500. So not his last race there, but he was worth fading. Boy, I tried this strategy of odd numbers to win the stages, Rod, and this is why you don't take a bunch of minus money bets, because these were both minus 120, and I missed on both of them. You had even number car Josh Berry win the first stage, even number car Joey Logano win the second stage. And I was trying a strategy there. It didn't quite work out, so unfortunately missed that. Oh, Kyle Larson, Rod, CT, go ahead. Fast forward button. I know you'll be, hopefully you're not still tuned in live here, but Kyle Larson, Rod, told you it's going to be up front. It's going to be looking good. Things are going to be going well. Maybe he'll lead 6 laps for us. 4-1 for him to lead over 5.5 laps. How many laps did Kyle Larson lead, Rod?
7.
Did he really?
6. No, it was 6. I'm sorry. It was 6.
Was it 6?
Yeah. Let's hold on. Let's
check that because I thought it was 5.
Kyle Larson. 5. That's right. He led 5.
God, you got me all excited. I was like, man, I don't remember seeing that bet in the winning slip, but look, this was really close. He 5.5 lap, one more lap. And I'll tell you this, there was 3 laps. I counted them. Trust me, where he was leading coming out of turn 4 and doesn't lead as they cross the stripe. I would absolutely place this bet again. I told you at the end of the day, things would not go well for Kyle Larson. Things did not go well for Kyle Larson. Again, Cody Ware, more top 5s than Kyle Larson on super speedways. Harrison Burton, more top 5s than Kyle Larson on super speedways. CT. Corey LaJoie has more top 5s than Kyle Larson at Daytona. He's now 1 for 45 super speedway top 5s in his career, finished in 21st place rather. But almost hit this 4-1 on him. So that was a lot of fun. It was a very nice sweat because I was tracking it the whole time and having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that is kind of a fun bet to track too. Andrew saying, remember Rod said, bet your house that Ryan Truex won't win. I may have to get the sound clip from that because I don't remember saying that. However, I will probably say he wasn't going to win. And then where King saying 2 top 5s in a row and 10th in the points. Are we still in a sophomore slump, Rod? Asking for a friend. If you consider
these Gibbs fans, they're coming at you hard, Rod.
If you consider 2 base hits, or 2 doubles, I guess, coming out of a slump after you've been 0 for 15, then
he's about to make the playoffs on points, right? You got to get. We'll have to have this.
I'll give him credit. Listen, look, but I'm still saying to you that this is not the performance that all you guys are hoping for. So this is a slump for Ty Gibbs because he barely is coming out.
He's busting the slump right in time for the playoffs. And TK hasn't been Truex's junior's day in months. So many issues. Despite how good he seems, it's almost crazy that he's still sitting so good in the points with as bad as it seems like he's been lately. But that's how it goes.
That's what retirement does for you. All right. I had SVG top 10, 14-1. He blew an engine. Boy, that thing just ignited.
That thing. Oh, buddy. Yeah. That's
I don't know that he'd have been a top 10 car even if that wouldn't have happened.
Come on, Rod.
No,
look at the top 10.
Well,
Cody Ware, Parker Retzloff, Daniel Hemrick. SVG could have been in the top 10 if he'd have been in the race at the end of the day. He absolutely, this is why you bet on the longer shots. And we decided that this was his top 5 number, right? Instead of top 10.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That was his top 5.
But still, Cody Ware finished inside the top 5. So SVG could have definitely done it. I threw out a couple of darts on top Ford. Todd Gilliland to 25-1, Justin Haley at 40-1. Look, Cody Ware was 4th place and the second best Ford. Harrison Burton was the top finishing Ford. So betting top Ford was absolutely the correct call on a long shot. Now, we didn't get the right ones, obviously. Justin Haley led a fuck ton of laps, though. He was up front for a majority of the end of the race, which was beautiful to see. Obviously, he got shipped right before they were coming to green flag pit stops. And that kind of ended his good run. Unfortunately, he ended up he ended up 32nd because he did not finish the race. But Gilliland, another guy who was up there kind of in the mix, looking good for a while, got shipped at some point and finished 23rd. So neither of these guys did it. But again, you're not always going to pick the right ones, right? It's super speedway racing. It's unpredictable. But betting a long shot top Ford was the correct call. Harrison Burton, Cody Ware, I mean, their numbers had to be bigger than those guys even. Keselowski in 8th is your top finishing Ford. That's, of the favorites. So it was the right type of bet to make. Pick the wrong drivers, and that's how it goes. And Parker Retzloff finished in 7th, King. So not quite. You were close, but he's still probably. Does Larson have a top 7 finish at Daytona? He might not.
You want to talk about heartbreak, though, on where someone finished. How about Carson Hocevar? One spot outside of a top 10 hit at 7-1. I don't know if this was the scoring loop because I can't remember where Hocevar was at the end of that run. That I was like, okay, he's gonna do this, and then I looked up and there's Chris Buescher in 10th, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me right now. I am unhappy that this is not it. So Hocevar almost had that top 10, 7-1. I mean, he was where he needed to be when he needed to be there. That was the only thing with Carson Hocevar. He was not a top 10 car for most of the day, but when that one wreck collected just about everybody, that wreck on lap 153, that Michael McDowell up in the front got turned, right? Flipped Bubba, Michael McDowell, Logano, Haley, Larson, Bailey, Bowman, Reddick, Bell, Byron, Stenhouse, Cindric, Buescher, and Hill. Like all those guys got taken out.
Big wreck.
There it was. There was Carson Hocevar's chance to get that. So,
yep,
one spot short.
Yeah, one spot. I mean, it's 7-1. Look, long shot top 10s, obviously. Again, look at the top 10 was the way to go. I had John Hunter Nemechek 5-1. He ends up in 15th place. Not a bad day. He had his time up there in the top where he was kind of mixing it up for a while. Also had him as top Toyota at 30-1. Again, you're just playing the number game here. You get 3 Toyotas in the top 6. So the few Toyotas that there is, they still had a great day. Obviously, guys like Hamlin out very early. Reddick had his issues. Truex had his issues. That's what you were looking for. Maybe Bell has an issue. Maybe Gibbs, Bubba have their issues. And John Hunter's there. Also gave out his teammate Eric Jones at 16-1. Again, he was mixing it up for a while. He ended up in one of those wrecks as well, which they showed the list of guys who weren't in wrecks after that last wreck. And I think there was like 4 cars on the list because everybody got a piece somewhere. So, yeah, that's how it goes. But, again, I don't think that these were bad bets to make. Didn't cash this time. But John Hunter still, I mean, he's never finished worse than 15th in his career at Daytona. So 5-1 at top 10, and then hoping some Toyotas, have bad luck for the bet at least. Not bad bets to make.
Yeah, and for legacy, first of all, Jimmy Johnson had to sit there and watch from the booth as his cars got torn up. Just John Hunter spun trying to take the lead, made contact with Haley to bring out the caution on 141, and then a couple of laps later, Eric Jones makes contact on pit road at lap 143. So, yeah, I mean, you want to talk about getting all your money's worth watching into the booth. Poor Jimmy Johnson. And then let's pour one out. Well, not even pour one out, but let's be happy that Josh Berry is actually walking, talking, and
Josh
smiling.
Berry's car won the race. Rod, what are you talking about?
Oh my God. Yeah, the four. That's true. Josh Berry is the future winner of the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Now, listen, Josh Berry, Adam, is a top 5 at 13-1. Josh Berry won stage 1. Josh Berry was pretty much one of the more dominant cars for the rest or for the day. But boy, let me tell you, that wreck was gnarly. I've seen a lot of wrecks, and I don't know that I've seen one like that before, because that was where he spun, flipped, and just twisted and turned like a merry-go-round for the better part of,
Well, it was like you spin a top and it just spins and spins and spins and is it ever gonna end? And it was just like he just kept going and going and go, and you're like, oh my God, that just had to be, man, wrecks like that are just so brutal to watch. Obviously, he got out of the car, he was interviewed after, he looked like he was fine. I'm sure he's fucking sore today.
Gotta be.
But man, just what a crazy wreck that was.
Yeah. And all the broadcast all day long was talking about how the concrete now instead of the grass, how much better that is.
How many times did that come into play where that was such a good thing? I mean, this is the first time we've raced there since they did that, and it came into play multiple times where things would have been much worse, and a few cars would have been absolutely destroyed that just spun out and didn't have all the damage. So yeah, that was a great call by them to repave that. And this was a good call by you. Barry looked very impressive. Obviously wins the stage, his first career stage win. So that was great. Here it is, Rod. You sprinkle the long shots for a reason. Parker Retzlaff, 20-1 for a top 10. This is what somewhat saves the day. This was the big one that hit. 7th place, obviously right there at the end, pushing Harrison Burton. Slips up kind of as they're coming to the caution flag there, but 20-1. It's just how it goes. We just talked about betting him in the Xfinity Series. He didn't get it done. He wrecked there. Sometimes you wreck, sometimes you don't. If you don't, he's proven he can be a good driver and can get you to the end. Probably made some people at ECR pretty upset. We'll see if he's back in that 62 car. Maybe you don't choose to push the 21 when your teammate's basically with the 8 car. Another story for another day. But Austin Hill, top 5 at 14-1. Look, if you're telling me Cody Ware can finish in the top 5, then I don't feel bad for betting on Austin Hill. Surprise, like most people, there's an accident next to his name. That's how it goes. But he got caught up in accidents in both races this weekend. It's going to happen. Cody Ware finished in the top 5, which means that if we put you in a car, Rod, you could probably do it too.
That'd be fun. Let's do that. Shall we? I'm ready to go. Speaking of somebody that wasn't necessarily ready to go, that's William Byron. Finished in 27th after getting wrecked on one of those big wrecks. I don't know that he would ever have been a top 3 car, Cody. It just didn't seem like they had the speed or the teammates to hang with them up front, because it was Larson and it was Byron, but Bowman popped up every once in a while, and that was fun and all, but like Elliott was wrecked out too. And yeah, they just didn't have the help that they could have had to stay up front. Larson seemed to be the class of the field when it came to the Hendrick guys until he got collected. So yeah, Byron at 5-1 for a top 3 just didn't work out. And what are you going to do?
That's how it goes. He's really good at these tracks. It's a big enough number for, and we've seen like with these races, they're not always super chaotic. This one, of course, was one of the more chaotic ones we've had recently. But if it's less chaotic, Byron's going to be there in the mix. I mean, you look at the finishing order at the end, and you did have guys like Busch and Bell and Gibbs and Bubba up there, guys you would expect to be up there. Could have easily been William Byron. Wrong place, wrong time. That's how it goes. King would like to know what Corey LaJoie was doing, by the way. Rod, I had the car lift on Corey LaJoie. Look, it didn't cash this time. Obviously, he was involved in that wreck. These super speedway wrecks
involved or caused, Cody.
That's where we're about to go. So these super speedway wrecks, Rod, they are generally not one person's just complete fault. Every once in a while, you'll see one guy. It's just like, whoa, shit, like what? But with this deal, it looked like Chastain checks up a little bit, which he probably had to do. But then that checks up. Was it Gregson that was right in front of him? And then, LaJoie probably doesn't have time to react. Larson's pushing him. It's all a chain reaction. If you wanted to blame somebody, I would argue you probably blame Larson, who then is now you could probably blame for multiple wrecks because he probably caused the wreck later on. But I don't even think it was Larson's fault. I don't think it was LaJoie's fault. I think it was just a chain reaction, and that's how it goes. And sometimes you get caught up in shit. But prior to that, LaJoie was fast. He looked good. He was up there mixing it up. That's what you expect from him. Look, we have one more shot. Atlanta coming up here in a few weeks. That could be it. Now, some hints have been dropped. Sounds like maybe Corey could be going to Rick Ware car next year. So I would not mind seeing him hang around. I know that a lot of you are upset with Corey right now. I saw that he was in the poll of, I don't know if you saw that meme that was shared in the Discord, Rod, but it was a Fox News graphic of most destructive leaders in the world or something. And Corey LaJoie had a big lead over Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un and all the other crazy world leaders. So I know you people aren't happy with him. Still made us way too much money on super speedways. Even this season, he was 4th in the Daytona 500. Let's not forget that. I will be betting on him again in 2 weeks at Atlanta. If you don't want to hear that part, get your fast forward button ready. It doesn't cash this time, but we'll be back on it at least one more time.
That's funny. I did not see that meme, but I'm going to have to scroll back and look at it. That does sound kind of funny. All right. My winning car number. I had the numbers backwards. I had under 12.5. I should have had it under 21.5. So my bad, guys. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. Plus 135 for that one. It was under 21.5, not 12.5. So my bad.
Yeah, shit happens, Rod. That's how it goes. This was your plus money number. You take it. You never know how it's going to end up at the end of the day. Look, taking the shotgun unit, spreading it out is the way to go. That's why guys like Harrison Burton weren't on him, unfortunately, but I think that's the way to do it. Really, listening to Phil on Full Tank with Phil, I like his deal. You take 10 guys, you split your unit into 10s, and you bet only guys that are 20-1 or more. I might employ that when we come to Atlanta in a few weeks, because that's how you get guys like Harrison Burton in there. And that's how it goes. Harrison was, I think, 80-1 when a week opened. Very good hit. I know. And Andrew, who's in the chat, in the Discord, he just bet. He waited, and this is a great strategy too. Waited till about 50 to go. Now, at this point, there's some cars out of the way, right? Who's still in this thing? Who has a chance? He sprinkled a couple of different guys. I think he threw like $1 or $2 on a couple of different guys. Harrison was 121-1, and he hit him. So that pays off very nicely for you. A $1 bet, still $121. So that's a nice way to raise your money there. So great call by him. But had William Byron, he was obviously taken out early. Had Tyler Reddick, he was taken out early. Gibbs, 26-1. I was a believer. King, Erica, I'd like you to note. 5th place finish. Look, you're telling me a guy at 26-1 is in the mix in the top 5 at the end of the day? Sign me up every single time. Gilly at 50-1. Again, he was sort of in the mix. Justin Haley at 75-1, though, was leading for so long in this race, was right there mixing it up. Gets shipped out of the lead, which was unfortunate. But a bet that I would definitely have again. Rod, I think you would definitely take your bet again, because if we race back to the line, we did race back to the line in this one. But if we just are a little more aggressive, I don't know. You were close.
I don't know how on God's green earth Kyle Busch did not get that done. If we had one more straightaway, I think Kyle Busch would have had this 10-1. I mean, finishes second place in this one, but at the end of it, it was like there was 3 wide for the win. It was 3 wide for the lead. Like, we had all the action going on, and then at the end of it, Burton just got pushed hard by Retzlaff to get him past the 8, and that was what it was. And Kyle needed one more straightaway to get this thing done, because on the last turn, Parker had a full head of steam, charged headlong into that 21, shoved him right up to the point where he had too big of a gap for Busch to catch up, which normally you get that big of a gap and the car can catch up, but there wasn't enough room left for Kyle Busch to do it. I said this was going to be his comeback. I said this was going to be an opportunity for him to get right. He said it was going to be an opportunity for him to get right. So yeah, he was about a straightaway short of being able to claim victory in this one. 10-1 though for the second place car. Again, this is why you do what you do.
18-1. 18-1, not 10-1. Yeah.
Oh, my glasses suck.
Yeah.
18-1. Yeah.
Yeah. So even better. But yeah, Nico says props to KB for not turning him. I was expecting it. I mean, yeah. If you get turned at Daytona at the end, that's just part of it. It's not. That's obviously different the situation than his teammate was in, but he was right there. He had the chance. Oh, I can't wait for odds this week, Rod. It's gonna be hard not to bet on Kyle to get it done on the Southern 500, which I'm excited to bet. We'll be back on Tuesday for that. But yeah, that's how it goes. This was a really fun weekend. Super Speedway racing is so much fun. And it's fun to bet on. I know it doesn't always fall your way, but then you get a 20-1 with the nerdy guy in the 62 car crossing the line. So you like it. And excited for Darlington this week. And then Atlanta's in 2 weeks, guys. We're right back doing the super speedway thing once again.
Indeed. Yeah. Darlington is next week for both the Cup and the Xfinity Series. And trucks, I think they're off again, right?
They're off for, the Truck Series schedule is like worse than F1 and IndyCar for a little while. We got like a race every 6 weeks.
19th at Bristol. So
they're off until the 19th at Bristol, and then they're off until they could play. I guess it's the next couple of weeks after that, and then they take another long break. But
indeed.
But we have Cup and Xfinity this week at Darlington. Southern 500 to get that extra 100 miles. Going to come into play big time.
Crown Jewel.
That's right, Crown Jewel. You got it.
Got it. All right. Well, then we'll bid adieu to Daytona and Milwaukee until next year. And thank it very much for the opportunity to watch super speedway racing again and short track racing. Oh, Chevy checking in real quick before we head out. Hey guys, just watch your Xfinity playoff predictions. Pretty spot on so far, except for SVG take. Hey, listen, we put a lot of stock into SVG. It makes everyone average on road courses, including Lawson.
I'm guessing if you went back and listened to the beginning of the season, love it. That's great. Probably. I think I was pretty down on SVG just because you weren't sure what you were going to get, but swing and a miss on that for sure.
Indeed. Well, we've come around. We've come around on
SVG. Yeah. Fuck. We bet on the guy like 10 weeks in a row at this point.
100%. So, all right. Well, then, like we said, we'll bid adieu to Milwaukee and to Daytona. Thank you very much for a great weekend of racing. Thank you guys for hanging with us, especially in the Discord. That Discord was hopping this weekend. Yes. So much fun. And we are done watching the Cup Series race, right? We can safely be done.
Are we done now?
Are we done watching this? Are we done watching this whole thing?
We're on to Darlington, Ron.
On to Darlington. Let's do it. On Tuesday, we'll be back with our Cup Series episode. And hopefully we get some pretty good odds to exploit for you once again. Cody, as we take off for the weekend, please let everybody know where they can find you out there in the world.
Yeah, follow me over on the X, Rod, at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. There's a lot of it. Check it out. Appreciate all you guys reading the articles and stuff that put a lot of time and thought into those. So it's greatly appreciated. And we'll see you guys again later this week. F1's back again this weekend. We had a pretty decent weekend on the betting side of things. So, a little up and down, but hit a few. So we'll be back with the F1 Gambling Podcast as well. It's a lot of fun. And Darlington, let's do it.
I hate that I picked the wrong McLaren to win the race, but whatever. That's the way it is. Listen, content creation, folks, is almost a thankless job in some aspects. So anytime you support us, we definitely appreciate you because, it's a grind. Everybody thinks it's easy to do this. And guess what? It is till it's not. But we love you all for support, and we love you all for continuing to read and to watch and to listen to everything we put out. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in about everything you can help support me with. And you can probably see my comic collection that's growing and growing every day. So we'll see you on Tuesday. Until then, everyone, let's go racing and let it ride. Another piece of us is broken.